Hello, friends. How's everyone doing? I know that I had put that we were gonna, we normally go live at 10 on Sundays, and then I put 10:05, and then I had some internet issues. So we're here,
We're
um,
here.
and we're ready to talk comics. We're ready to like bullshit about comics and all the comics stuff going on. But first of all, Mars, how are you doing today?
I feel like I'm doing fabulous. It has been and I never feel like that on these Sunday mornings. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe it's because I am on vacation for the first time and God knows how long. So I was supposed to go away this weekend. Things happened, but I still have 5 days of just peace and quiet. And I've been spending that time going to a lot of comic shops, picking up a lot of back issues, and hopefully, maybe, possibly cleaning up and organizing my comic cabinet, which, let's be honest, probably isn't going to happen.
I feel like I do that too. Like, I'm like, I'm going to take a vacation and I'm going to do the staycation thing. And I'm just going to hang out at my house and I'm going to get things done. And then I end up just like on my phone, like doom scrolling, or maybe I get a little bit inebriated and just like walk to a park.
Ooh.
Yeah. But, it is what it is. Eventually, one day our collections will be organized. One
Straight
day.
and organized, and everything will be, numerically ordered, and everything will be bagged and board. And then that's the day that the world will end. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be like that for one day. I feel like if I could just get like my comics bagged and boarded at this point, like my collection for the most part in boxes, because they're all like in short and long boxes, they are for the most part as like organized by publisher. So I've got
Mm-hmm.
Marvel, DC, and indie. So maybe one day if I can just go through the indie and like just make sure like all Image, all Dark Horse, um, Vault, Mad Cave Scout, those will probably have to be all together. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But one thing that I do want to bring up is that over this past week, the channel hit 1,000 subscribers. So that's like, to me,
It's
that's
insane.
huge. I was thinking about it and I was like, like I'm maybe on trajectory, like maybe I'll go ahead and hit it like in about a year. I mean, granted, like I started it in this channel in May of 2020 and it hit it in August of 2021. I was like, maybe I'll hit it by the end of the year, whatever. So I want to say thank you for everyone who's gotten us to this point because it feels really freaking
It's
good.
insane.
It is. And especially, just thinking that there's 1,000 people out there who like believe in what we do and believe in like the comics that we talk about each week. I just
And
really.
listen to us talk about who in the comic book industry is a fart smeller, and
Mm-hmm.
who we want to rail each week. It's
Yeah.
insane. And on top of hitting 1,000 followers this week, it was actually the 1 year anniversary of the first time me and you collaborated.
It was. So we did a fun Batwoman show a year ago last September. And I'm so, because I think that you had posted a whole bunch of Batwoman stuff, or you had actually posted a whole bunch of like Angela stuff on your page. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
let's do a show about Angela. And then I think that you maybe also posted Batwoman. And I'm like, I love Batwoman too. Let's do a show about Batwoman. And
And that was the start of it.
it was. And then I think we did the Philadelphia show with Comic Shop
Mm-hmm.
News, and then we started doing this show together every Sunday. So, or most Sundays, we miss a couple. So,
We
but I'm
try
really
to do it every Sunday, but life happens.
life happens. So last week, just like a little update on last week. So, I ended up coming into close contact with someone who had exposure to COVID, and that was kind of
Terrifying.
terrifying. So all is well. I've gotten several. I've gotten 2 tests. Both have come back negative. So I'm looking forward to not having COVID, and I'm also looking forward to going to Rose City Comic Con here in Portland,
Which
Oregon.
is so exciting.
The first convention I've been to in like about 3 years. The last one I went to before this was Tampa Bay Comic Con, and that was a lot of fun. So
this is your first West Coast Comic Con since your big move to Portland.
yeah, yep, it is, and I'm really super excited about that. So
Very
I can't wait to
exciting.
meet a whole bunch of people because there's a lot of people like that I know that are in the chat that are here in Portland, Oregon that are going to be there, or at least here in the Pacific Northwest. So I'm really excited for that. And speaking of people here, there's about 20 of y'all here, and I want to say thank you, and I want to say thank you to everyone who's going to be watching on the rewind. So let's go ahead and run through it. So hello to Brandon, happy 1K, thank you. Sam's Tangled Web, who's also a Portlander. I've already met you though, but hopefully you'll be at Rose City. JD Barry, hello. Officially unofficial geek. Thank you. Happy Sunday all. Sleepy Reader, Damien, who is also a Portlander here. So maybe we'll run
all the
into
cool people are just in Portland, apparently. Got it.
It's
cool. Gonna move out. And,
yeah, please move out here. Please move out here. And then another really cool person, a friend that we go to the same shop. Really appreciate you in this way. Yeah. So thank you for being here, friend. And then one of my favorite people. Yes. Hello to Justin from No Good Comics. Thank you for being here. Siamese Art, hello. Hello. Chaos and Comics, hello. How are you doing? Inebriation Club. Yeah, I'm not inebriated yet.
It's
but
too early for you. It's what, 9 a.m. over there?
It's 10. It's just after 10 here. But later today.
For sure.
For sure. Kitten Puke. Hello, Kitten Puke. How are you doing today? It will never happen. LOL. I don't know if that's...
I think they're in reference to our comic collections being organized.
Yeah, you're right. It'll never happen. It's perpetual, and maybe one day. I think about that sometimes. I know I'm kind of going off the rails here a little bit, but that's the show.
The show.
I think sometimes I'm like, man, I spend several hours a week like doing shows and doing things. I could probably put that time back into my day, and it'll never happen. It'll never happen. I have a solo short box of all Vault. Vault is fantastic. Highly, highly underrated. I need to reorganize my boxes. 17 by publishers now. Yeah.
Hear me out, y'all. A lateral filing cabinet eliminates all long boxes and short boxes, and you don't have to do the heavy lifting. Just a fun fact from your pro comic girl over here. Invest in a lateral filing cabinet. You can get one off of the Facebook Marketplace for like $30.
You know, I should probably do that. And the reason why is because that beautiful lump of a cat, Luna, that you see jump up here every now and then, loves diamond boxes, or loves those boxes, and loves to scratch on them.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I've got several boxes that are like kind of torn up on the sides that are almost cracking through. So I need to replace my boxes, and they are in like high demand, short supply. So oh no, that jumped. Okay. So hello to Sanimation. Hello, Queens. She's a queen. Hello, Jeezy Treasy. Hello. Hello to Tim Crocker. Thank you for being here. Officially Unofficial Geek says, I'm still so scared for cons, even though I am vaccinated. Yeah. Luckily, Rose City Comic Con has come out and said, you have to show proof of vaccination or proof of negative COVID test in order to go. They did it kind of short notice, but I've been vaccinated for several months now. So freaking Portland. Yeah, it's true. Is Portland really as cool as it seems? I'm going to say yes. I really enjoy it. There's a ton of comic shops here. There's a ton of really good food.
It seems like.
The food is incredible. I'm
jealous.
It's good. Like I specifically remember the moment I was eating some ramen. Like my partner had brought me ramen during the show, and you're like, you have ramen within walking distance? And I'm like, I've got like 5 ramen places within walking distance. Like I've got sushi, donuts. That's really what
poutine.
Pizza, poutine fries. Man, it's the Wild West out here.
Jealous.
I love it. Okay. And then hello to Shattered Glass. Congrats. And then hello to Unruly Simeon. I have some books going out to you that should go out shortly. So Alrighty. So let's get into it. I know that there's been some news this last week. What's some of the news that you are happy about, angry about, concerned?
Angry, concerned, violent. We're starting off with violence this
Always,
early. Always.
always.
So Jared Luhan, who is actually a pal of the show,
Yeah.
Famously known for doing books like Dryfoot
Dryfoot.
from Mad Cave Studios, which if you have not checked out that book, please do so immediately. Was solicited back in like April. We covered it to do a book called Crash and Troy, which was to be published by Action Lab Comics. Jared Luhan has been coming forward along with the artist of the book, and I unfortunately can't think of their name at this point in time.
Yeah.
But have been coming forward within the past week or so, talking about how it has now been 5 months since Crash and Troy was supposed to be released by Diamond Publications, that the publisher has essentially ghosted the creative team completely. They have given no word on if and when this book will ever release, and refused to release the rights to Jared and his partner on the book and everybody else on the book, so that they might have the hopes of taking it to another publisher and seeing it be published and, seen on the market. So it started this big hashtag of free Crash and Troy. However, it seemed like later this week, more and more creators were jumping on the free Crash and Troy hashtag bandwagon.
As
With
well as the anti-action lab. Like a lot of them were saying,
Anti-Action Lab. They're basically all coming through and saying the same thing, that the publisher has been ghosting them. Books are promised to be published. There are some creators that even talked about putting up money themselves for a first issue release, and this is figures from $5,000 to $10,000, which seems insane.
I
And
heard 3,000 from Jared.
3,000.
Yeah, I think specifically for, and I think that it's a little bit tricky with the way that the number works, because you basically have to pay for however many issues were pre-ordered. So, I think that's why it varies a little bit, because for some people, like that 3,000 is what supposedly the publisher Action Labs has paid to have some of those published, printed, but we don't even know if they were printed or not.
Exactly. And it just seems like a lot of shady shit. And Action Lab isn't a huge publisher by any means. I mean, when I think of smaller indie publishers, I obviously think of Volt and Mad Cave and Aftershock. I would say that they might not even be on the level of somebody like Scout or Behemoth at this point in time. But it's the idea that a publisher has, and I understand publishers have a lot of power, but to ghost your creators who have been doing all of the work, all of the press work, all of the promotional work to try and get these books into the hand of fans, because that is the one thing that I absolutely admire about Jared Luhan, is that man is insane. From my understanding, he has a full, job, a full-time job that he works 40 plus hours a week.
Yeah.
And yet he still comes home, writes comics, creates comics,
Promotes them.
promotes comics. I remember when Dryfoot was coming out and he was physically emailing basically every comic shop in the country. Hey, here's a PDF. Hey, can I help organize a signing for you? Hey, can I help organize some type of press to get my book into the hands of people? And I think for that reason, Dryfoot was actually really successful, because it was that word of mouth promotion. And, if you know comics, you know that unless it's a big 2 book, that's basically how your book gets out there to fans and to readers. That is one of the reasons why I personally love Twitter. I know Twitter can be a very toxic place, but if it wasn't for following certain creators that either I admire or that I discover, I wouldn't know about some of these books that are coming out, and I wouldn't show as much interest, because they're making sure that their books are on the eyes of readers and in the mouths of readers. And, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of Action Lab right now.
Yeah, and I think someone put in the chat that Chaos basically said Action Lab is mostly known for Zombie Tramp.
That was one of the creators, I think, that came out and was saying stuff towards Action Lab.
Yeah. And I understand that the comic book game is a tricky one to be in, especially when it comes to like a book that you're paying like $4 for a little floppy book. For some people that may be a lot, but I think that at the end of the day, especially for indie comic book people who, hopefully they sell a couple thousand copies of it and that's seen as successful. Even those margins are pretty thin.
They
So
are.
being able to make a lot of money, like people aren't going into comic books to make money. And I think that for a lot of less well-known creators, their hopes of getting published lie with these indie publishers that are smaller. And when I say small, I do think of like maybe Action Labs, as well as like AWA is a pinch smaller, in my opinion, than say like Vault or Mad Cave or Behemoth, and Scout, all those folks. So I think, first of all, like, shame. I wish I had a bell here. I probably shouldn't. There's probably a good reason why I don't have a bell, but shame on you, Action Labs, for doing that. And I think that right now they are taking for granted that the comic book community is a really small one, and even as small as it is, it's very tight knit and it's being vocal right now.
It is. It's
And
very vocal, and I'm glad to see it. Because I saw it because I follow Jared Luhan and we're mutuals, and we
mhm,
occasionally converse back and forth. But then it was like people I don't even follow, I was seeing it
yeah,
pop up on, and it's just a shame because honestly, it sets a precedent for a company like Action Labs where they prey on new and upcoming creators.
yeah,
They give them that sense of false hope of, hey, you have a really great idea here. I'm going to help you get your foot in the door with this community, because at the end of the day, it's how it happens. You have to get your foot in the door somewhere, and you get these false promises and false pretenses, and they prey on
yeah.
that. They really do. And it's
And
like, what do you have to gain from that's the one thing that I'm trying to figure out. What does Action Lab have
yeah.
to gain as a publisher by taking on a book, holding on to the rights of it for whenever it is that they decide to release it, and
Mhm.
then ghost their creative teams? It just, there's no
Yeah.
pull, tug and pull that I can understand. Maybe because I'm not a publisher, but as a consumer, as a comic journalist, I mean, if we can call ourselves that, because
Yeah.
I think we are, it
The
puts a
fart
really
smeller
it puts a
report.
really fail taste in my mouth. And while I haven't read a ton of Action Lab comics, there are a couple that I do really enjoy and have wanted to recommend to people because they're a small publisher and I want to get their books out. No more. Done with Action Lab.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yep. And really quick here to Shattered Glass point, wouldn't that be a breach of contract? So they could go somewhere else to print it. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. So they in this particular case, Jared Lujan, in the case of Free Crash and Troy, they are trying to gain back the right. So basically, their contract is saying, "Hey, publisher, you have the rights to Crash and Troy if you're going to publish it for us." But you actually need to print it and publish it, and they haven't. And that could be, a monetary thing. That could be that they just haven't gotten the funds together to actually print stuff, whatever. They've been, in several cases, they've been told that it's been printed but hasn't been released yet. So Action Labs has reached negotiation with Jared Lujan and creative team, basically saying, give us $3,000 and we will give you back the rights to Crash and Troy.
Which is BS.
And then you can take it to another publisher and possibly do that. So I know that there was talk of a GoFundMe. Hopefully, Jared Lujan can comes up with that soon. I'd really love to see it. Maybe we can reach out and see if we can get Jared. I'd love to get Jared Lujan on the show
Absolutely.
to talk about this, as well as their other work. Their other work is actually great outside of like this bananas stuff, but you know.
It's
So
just a shame.
shame on Action Labs. What other news has been on your mind and heart and
I
mind?
I think that's really it. Like, that's been like my focus is just
Yeah,
hashtag free Crash and Troy.
yeah,
If we could get hashtag free Crash and Troy's in the chat right now, that would
yeah,
be bonkers. Go on Twitter too.
yeah.
Hashtag free Crash and Troy.
And go
Um,
follow Jared
and go
Lujan.
follow Jared Lujan. Absolutely.
Yep.
Because listen, if there's somebody to look up to in comics, that's the blueprint right there.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so any other before we get into comics. I know that since we were not here last week because of stupid stuff, I've got some books from this week, and I've got some books from last week.
I'm mad that my combination of this week and last week is as big as, your this week or your last week. It's fine. It's okay.
Let's see if I can do this and not just spill them
Uh-oh.
everywhere. Okay, and you're gonna be like pissed at
She's
me
pulling
because
oh my Lord Jesus.
so this is my this week and last week of what I read, and this is my what I didn't read.
Which means that there's more. It's just insane. I don't know how Jen
But
does
wait,
this.
there's more.
But wait.
I 100% will. I'll tell people. I read a lot, I think, because I don't have kids and I also work from home right now. So anytime that I would normally spend commuting or dealing with, like, I don't know what kids do. Do you change diapers or something or feed them? I don't know, man. But
That's what we do. That's what we do. So I think, other than, I guess the only other brief thing to mention is we saw the first movie of the new Marvel Cinematic Universe phase. I don't know. What is this? 2, 3, 4?
I thought
I
it was
don't know.
phase 4. Are we
Phase
in
4?
phase 4?
I don't know what we're in. It's the new generation of Marvel heroes from Marvel. So Shang-Chi did come out this weekend. Jen hasn't gotten a chance to see it yet.
I'm gonna go try to see it today. So I've got some other adult responsibility chores and things to do today.
I did get a chance to see it yesterday. I'll be honest, I had no desire to see this. I'm not a big kung fu action flick type person. And if I'm being quite honest, I've just been kind of exhausted by the MCU in general. But I saw it yesterday and I actually really, really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the vibe, some of the fight sequences. Actually, all of the fight sequences, I think, are some of the best that we have seen in the Marvel Universe or otherwise. And there were some really, really great likable characters that I really, really attached myself to. I'm going to tell you right now, there is a small little creature called Morris. You are going to absolutely fall in love and become obsessed with Morris. I may or may not have already pre-ordered a plushie of Morris. So,
oh my gosh.
And that was while I was still in the theater that I did that. But it was really, really great. And I just think that a lot of people are going to have a lot of fun with this. Strangely enough, it did not feel like a Marvel movie. It honestly felt like it was its own little self-contained thing. So really? I would say if you have friends or family that just kind of enjoy this, like those kung fu fantasy flick vibes, definitely check it out because it was a really good time. And I think if this is where we're going with the next phase of Marvel, I'm in for it.
Ooh, I'm excited. For those some of the people who are maybe in the chat or maybe just now following me are doing so because Bueller, Comics with Bueller, invited me on his show, and I actually went and filmed the show with him yesterday. But I did, instead of it being Bueller and I, it was actually Bob from Everything Comics and I. So that was really fun. But Bob said pretty much the same thing. He said that it was a fantastic movie. He is a very big kung fu person, and he knows a little bit more about Shang-Chi than I really don't have.
Yeah, I know nothing.
I know, like, maybe just a little bit. But he said that it was fantastic, and I mean, obviously, like, I highly respect your opinion, but as someone for him who, like, knows the character, has a deep love and appreciation for like kung fu movies, his opinion meant a lot, and he said that it was fantastic. So I'm like, okay, I've got to go see this. So I'm definitely going to go try and see it. I honestly thought that my first movie in the theater was going to be Dune, but Dune got pushed back. We're not going to see it until the 22nd of October, so I've still got a month and a half. My fingers are crossed that I'm actually going to make it that long. I don't know, like, I need to see Dune. But anyways,
she needs the Dune.
I need to send Dunes.
Send Dunes.
Send Dunes. So I'll definitely go and try to see it today. Sounds really, really good.
It's a good time.
Let's get into some comic books from this week and last week. I know the way that we normally do this is just by like publisher.
Mm-hmm.
So would you want to get into Marvel? Do you want to get into DC? What does everyone in the chat want us to get into? Because I've got a little bit of both.
So hear me out. For the first time
Ooh,
on our
hear me
for the first time
out.
on our show, my Marvel stack is bigger than my DC stack.
That kind of blows my mind a little
It
bit.
does. It's kind
I'm
of
okay with it
fantastic.
though.
It's kind of fantastic.
So then, if you want to, we can maybe start with Marvel.
Do you want to start with Marvel?
Let's start with Marvel
Okay,
today.
let's start with Marvel.
What books did you get?
I got a lot of books from Marvel. Let's start out with this one because I keep thinking about this book and I think it may possibly be my favorite book of the week.
Ooh.
And that is Dark Ages from Tom Taylor and Eben Coelho. I don't know. It's a Tom Taylor book, so I picked it up. Of course I did.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be basically like an injustice deceased type event for Marvel Comics that Tom Taylor is known for doing. Tom Taylor is also doing, I believe it's called what is it, like Dark Metal or something like that, or
I just remember seeing a big sword. I saw a big sword.
I don't know.
I'm like, yeah.
Tom Taylor's next project over at DC Comics is fantasy medieval knights, Game of Thrones, DC Universe stuff. So I'm excited for that. But I love Tom Taylor, as we've established. I think he's a phenomenal writer. I think he really does take these like ideas that we all have, like a what if there were zombies, what if Superman was evil, what if the Marvel heroes were thrown into the apocalypse, and he kind of runs with them. And so that's basically what Dark Ages is about. So it's the first issue basically talks about how the entire world went dark and how the apocalypse was thrust upon us and we lost power. And if you don't know me, I'm actually a huge sucker for post-apocalyptic material. It's definitely one of my favorite genres: movies, comics, TV, you name it. If it's in the apocalypse, I am here for it. And I actually really, really enjoyed this title. So I will say that for a first issue, it was definitely a little slow because it more so dealt with the buildup, how we got to the apocalypse, how our heroes experienced the apocalypse as it was going on. And then it's within its last like 2 or 3 pages that we're like, okay, 7 years has passed. This is how we're adapting. This is how we're surviving. And I think that's what I'm most excited for, because one of the reasons why I love post-apocalyptic things is because I like seeing how humanity and nature adapts and how things that we're familiar with twist and change. And I'm really excited to see this with Marvel heroes. This kind of reminds me of like books like Old Man Logan, where it was this twisted apocalypse world, and we got to see, that Hulks were irradiated and that, Old Man Logan was the only one left. And I just like being able to see that creative side in media and characters and storylines that we know. So I think I'm definitely going to be picking up the rest of this because I think it's only like 5 or 6 issues.
Yeah. I 100% agree. And I think that this issue did a really good job of setting some stuff up. And there's been a couple of other like what if, but not what if stories that Marvel has done, like Spider Shadow, I feel like was what if without being what if. And although the what if stories have all been like one issue so far, so I like that, or classically, so I like that they're doing like kind of what if stories that are not what if and doing a little bit longer. But this one was a lot of fun, and it reminded me a lot of Secret War, and it's probably just because the original Secret War from the 80s has been on my brain because I recently reread it, where all of a sudden all of these people just kind of get thrown together. So we get to see the Avengers, we get to see some of the X-Men, we get to see all of these like groups of people come together. And there's been something that has been lurking in the shadows, and finally its power gets released. So I like this sense of doom. And I loved the moments with Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. I really love Moon Girl.
I like seeing the characters that he brought in. Of course, we get to see like a 2-page spread of Laura Kinney and Gabby, because we know that they're Tom Taylor's babies. But then, like you said, we get to see unexpected characters like Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, Scarlet Witch and Vision show up for a short amount of time. And it's just really great to see these characters together. And it's really nice to see Professor X without that stupid fucking helmet.
Oh my God, don't even say that. It's not bad. You've got to read House of X, Powers of X. House of X, Powers of 10. Okay. But so the premise of this is basically all technology gets wiped out. So then you see these characters like Vision, who is technology, become animate, falter and die. And
Spider-Man's web shooters go out.
All of it. And then, like, even at the end, so there, spoiler alert, not really, because we gave a lot more away. But like, you see Spider-Man just sitting, you know, in front of a campfire, just, okay, what am I going to do? So there's just, I like this a lot. Tom Taylor, you did good. I honestly couldn't imagine anyone else on this book. Like, if you told me that Tom Taylor would write a fun post-apocalyptic book, I'd be like, what? Did a really good job.
Yep, 100%.
Okay. What is next on our list for Marvel?
Demon Days, Cursed Web.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that one.
I'm just gonna come out and say it. Same as I've been saying with the past 3 issues. Marvel, what the fuck is this? I'm tired of you labeling all of these as a number 1, because this is a continuing story. So if somebody goes on the shelf and picks it up just because it's a number 1, they're going to end up very confused, because this is technically issue 3. Issue 4 is coming out in, I think they said December, but it's being labeled as Demon Days Rising Storm number 1. And I honestly think that this book should just be named Demon Days 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you can have the name, you know, as a subtitle underneath. I think it would avoid some confusion, especially for casual readers. So that's my gripe with this book right now.
I agree 100% with everything that you just said. However, I'm still really enjoying it, but that's also probably because, first of all, I love
Mystique
so much.
I love this design of Mystique. The way that Peach Momoko draws her, the way that Peach Momoko just designs characters, because in this book we get introduced, and I believe that they're going to be the focus in issue 4, issue 1, whatever you want to call it. We get introduced to Thor and Storm, and I really, really like these character designs. So in this universe, Thor and Storm are brother and sister, for lack of a better word, which makes sense when we think about the weather themes. But nobody's ever really thought about that. And I really love that, you know, I hate saying this because it makes me feel like a casual weeb person. But this feels like a really fun anime. Like, I felt like I was watching like an episode of Inuyasha while reading this.
That's exactly it. And I like it's I just want what's his name? Kagome and Inuyasha, but like I'm just like expecting both of them to show up in this.
Exactly.
So I really enjoyed it. I think that even if you don't read the single issues, I really hope that they do a good job putting like a trade together for this, because I think it'll be a really good book to buy, especially for people who like maybe read more manga and want to get into comic books, and maybe even want to see some familiar characters without having to know a lot of background. And I think that knowing like the characters, a lot more of the MCU characters than a first-time reader, almost ruins it for me, because I'm trying to pick out everyone in it. Like, wait, who is that character? Instead of being like, I just love it for what it is.
And I agree with that. That is part of the fun of the book, being a fan of comics and knowing who these characters are, is you are kind of playing a Where's Waldo and who's who.
Yeah.
Because in this one, we're introduced to Mystique. We're introduced to what I assume might be Silk, or one of the spider characters. We're introduced to Sabretooth, and I love his design. Storm, Thor. I agree with that statement 100%. And Marvel actually did do some manga stuff, if I'm mistaken.
Oh yeah.
In the early 2000s, but it was very, very bad. It was very cheesy. This feels, if we could get more like this, again, like you said, it would kind of bridge that gap between manga readers and comic readers and vice versa. Hashtag hear me out. I want to see this animated.
Yes,
I need
let's
this as
do
like
it.
an animated series because the style of it, the flow of it, you know, I keep saying I felt like I was watching an anime, and I know that makes me sound like some trash weeb girl or whatever, but it flows very perfectly. And while the story, you know, I kind of get confused in the story here and there, and maybe that's because we do have 2 months in between issues. I think once we're able to read everything all together, it will flow perfectly
It'll make a
because
lot more sense.
I can see where she's going. And again, Peach Momoko has proven herself that she is a Joelle Jones. She is not a Mirka Andolfo.
Ooh. Yeah, agreed.
100%.
Alrighty. I'm gonna pull out my Marvel stack. Do, 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 do. One of the books that I got this week, I don't know if you've gotten a chance. Um, I don't really know what's going on with this whole like Last Annihilation event for Marvel. But I did pick up Wiccan and Hulkling. Did you happen to pick this up?
I thought about it, but then I realized I'd probably read it and never touch it again, so I saved the $5 on it.
Oof. Um, well, I can definitely understand that, especially if you don't really like know what's going on. I think that you could still go in and understand and read this. But I really just love the characters. A lot of this was some backstory, like going back to whenever they first met,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was really cute. So it does like do that back and forth. So I really appreciated that. Ultimately, it is a story about these two, which I feel like we've kind of seen like in most of the other recent issues between Wiccan and Hulkling. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
their love story, and I just thought it was really cute. I really liked it. Would recommend.
Would recommend.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. Any other
New series from last week that I Winter Guard #1. So I'll be honest, I picked this up because the pre-orders came out right around Black Widow, and that's when I was feeling the Black Widow hype. I wanted more Red Guardian. I wanted more Yelena. And if I'm being quite honest, I know that this book was boring while reading it, but it was so boring, I don't even remember what was going on. I remember being really confused and just kind of wanting it to end. So this unfortunately was one of those. I spent $5 for nothing. Um, I
that
wanted,
DB money?
I wanted more. I don't know. I understand that they changed stuff in the movie.
Yeah.
And I know that I was upset that they changed stuff in the movie, within the first 5 minutes. Can we please incorporate the fact that Red Guardian is Yelena and Natasha's father instead of it being Natasha's husband? Because
Yeah.
let's be honest, I just think that we could get a lot more interesting storylines, a lot more interesting character development. And because I feel like I've seen Red Guardian pop up in Black Widow books here and there, but they never actually do anything with him. It's not like when Bucky shows up and it's this swooning romance and we have all this chemistry. Whenever Red Guardian shows up, it's literally like, yeah, we were married. And that's it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well,
I
why
kind
did
of
you
get
get
that
married?
though.
Why did you get divorced? I need more.
I do kind of get that because I think that they do have to like kind of nod to it. But you're right. I agree.
It's just we were married. That's it.
Yeah. I'm glad that
What are we doing?
I'm glad that you picked it up and read it so I didn't have to.
Damn. Shucks. But speaking of Black Widow, segue
Mm-hmm.
there.
So
Black Widow #10 came out last week. This is the end of the second arc. Can confirm this arc was bad. Did not enjoy this arc at all compared to the first arc. I actually was going to drop this series after this issue, and then I realized that it was the end of the arc, and I'm gonna at least give issue 11 another chance to see if it can, because it's the start of a new arc. So I don't want to drop it completely. So I'm going to give issue 11 a chance because that first arc really was just amazing and phenomenal and made me love the series. So I'm hoping we can reignite that spark with the third arc, because the second arc, I feel like, brought in too many characters.
yeah.
It was just a lot going on, and it had both too much time and not enough time to develop a good story. So here's hoping issue or arc 3 does much better.
With this arc, It did. The first arc was really good, and it surprised me because I read the first issue, kind of hated it. Read the second, third, and absolutely loved it. I have not been keeping up with this. I when I originally got it, I did flip through it and read a little bit of it, but um, I haven't been liking it, so I'm probably going to just drop it, and hopefully, we'll see. If you like it, then I'll end up keeping and picking it back up. So
that being said, the art is still gorgeous. Elena Casagrande is still doing literally queen shit on this book. It feels like every issue she has at least one, if not two, double page spreads, and every time I get to it, my jaw just drops because she is pushing the boundaries of what the comic medium can do. And I feel like not enough people are talking about her as an artist. She definitely needs to be nominated for artist like interior work of the year, I feel like. So hear me out, Eisner's, listen to this. Elena Casagrande for best artist. I want to see her on more books. I need to see her on like 1,000 more books without, sacrificing her quality because, she does queen shit.
agreed. One of the other books that I got from Marvel, I don't think that you would pick this one up. But I did get Spider-Man Life Story Annual. Okay. Did you happen to get this one?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So I've kind of read through the trade I got of this, and Chip Zdarsky is a very fantastic writer. But if you go into this book, know that it is a J. Jonah Jameson story. It's basically J. Jonah Jameson is what's the Moby Dick captain's name? So basically, Ahab? Yes. So he is basically Ahab, and Spider-Man is his white whale that he is looking for, and it drives him to the point.
That's a good analogy, actually.
It drives him to the point of like anger and like what would be happening if J. Jonah Jameson's hate and anger of Spider-Man consumed him.
Oh, that's it. That's interesting. Actually, that makes me want to read it.
It was pretty good. I did go into it kind of wishing that it was more Spider-Man-y, but you still get to see some of like the action in it. So Moby Dick meets Spider-Man.
Speaking of Spider-Man, Goopy Goblin brain kicking in. Because we weren't here last week and it came out last week, but it feels like it's been out for a month. Can we talk about that Spider-Man trailer? Because hello Peter, Dr. Octopus looking fine all these years later.
Whoa. Did you just refer to Dr. Octopus as like, I know that, like, hold up. I'm saying this with the perspective of like, yes, 10 out of 10 would smash Swamp Thing. 10 out of 10 I would smash Beta Ray Bill. But did you just say that Dr. Octopus looking fine?
I mean, he is now. Did you see Mr. Molina? Like, he rolls up and I'm like, what's good? Like, how are you? I mean, Octopus in the comics with that bowl cut can't do anything for you. Sorry, you gotta go away. But Mr. Molina, my DMs are open.
I cannot forget that bowl cut.
It's fine. That bowl cut is terrible. I'm excited. I'm not a huge Spider-Man fan, but I'm excited for the first ever multiverse crossover with all the different universes, that we grew up with. Like, I want to see William Dafoe Green Goblin, give me Sandman, give me Electro, throw some Venom in there somewhere. I am just excited. This is definitely a day one first show available. You need to go and see it, because if not, it's going to be spoiled for you until the end of time.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. 100%.
I'm really excited for this Spider-Man movie, ironically.
That's so funny that you say that.
No, it's weird, right? We live in a weird alternate dimension that Mars is excited for a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. I like the movies, and I usually go see the MCU movies opening night in the before times, right? I would go and see these
before the Dark Ages.
Before the Dark Ages. I would definitely go and see these opening night, usually multiple times depending on if I like the movie. But I am really excited about Spider-Man. I think that this looks really good. I've really liked this iteration of Spider-Man. You know, Andrew Garfield and dancing boy, I can't remember his name,
Tobey
but
Maguire.
Tobey Maguire. You know, I definitely understand that they may not get enough love, but I really do like this iteration. So
I'm very excited for Spider-Man. I knew there was something we were missing at the beginning of the show, and the Goofy
yeah,
Goblin Brain, you said Spider-Man, I think trailer, and there it is.
there it
Moving
is.
on. My last Marvel book. Why do I keep doing this to myself?
What did you do? What'd you get?
Darth Vader number 15. We're still stuck in this dumbass War of the Bounty Hunters.
Okay, but
I'm tired. I'm exhausted.
Does Swallow the Hutt show up?
Swallow the Hutt does make an appearance very, very briefly, but it's not enough anymore, Jen. I need more. I miss the first arc where it was the first and the second arc where I'm tapping into Anakin's emotions. We're tapping into all of his feelings and the history, and it's there. This feels like, I mean, it is, but it feels like a blatant crossover, and I am exhausted. I am broke. I am tired. I'm tired. I don't want this anymore. It needs to stop. I think I'm dropping it. I might pick it up when they solicit outside of War of the Bounty Hunters, but it has gone on long enough. I really don't care about Ochi. I know a lot of people absolutely love this new bounty hunter character that they introduced a little way back when. I'm pretty sure that at some point he will be getting his own series because he just is a fan favorite right now. I don't care. He feels like Deadpool in Star Wars, and I don't like that.
I feel like that's an interesting combination.
I guess it could be, but maybe I'm just so annoyed with this War of the Bounty Hunters event going on right now that I'm like, I don't like you. Get out of my face. So I'm going to be dropping Darth Vader.
Speaking of War of the Bounty Hunters, I have no clue what's going on because I'm not reading any of it except Dr. Aphra because I love Dr. Aphra a lot. It's fun. The whole kind of premise of this is that Dr. Aphra, she betrayed Darth Vader, and now she's kind of like been on the run trying to hide from him. He shows up. She's trying to evade him at a super fun party. So, anyways, I really like it. I love Dr. Aphra.
She's great. She's phenomenal. She's great. I just hate fucking events, and bringing an event to Star Wars makes me hate Star Wars. So we got to stop.
That was the last Marvel book that you have? Oh my goodness. Hold up.
I feel like I talked about Marvel forever, and I never do that.
You feel like you talked about Marvel forever.
I've been enjoying so many Marvel things lately. Trial of Magneto, The Dark Ages, Moon Knight. Like, what is happening to me?
What is happening? Because this is the rest of the stuff that I have for Marvel to talk about. So,
what do you got?
I will try to go through very, very briefly. So we did get Amazing Fantasy number 2.
How was that?
It's all right, in my opinion. Okay. It's I probably won't be picking up issue number 3 just because there's a lot going on in it, and I think that especially with Dark Ages, like I'm probably going to drop Amazing Fantasy in order to maybe get more into Dark Ages. Not that they have anything to do with one another, but it was all right enough.
I just feel like Amazing Fantasy could have done more and pushed that boundary a little bit more. Especially when it was solicited, what we were hearing about it. It felt like all of these different characters from all of these different multiverses were coming through. It almost felt like a battle world. And we've lost Jen. But Amazing Fantasy, at least to me, when it was, being announced and solicited, felt like it could have been a battle world situation that we saw from Marvel a couple years ago. And it just does not seem like Amazing Fantasy is that. And it's just been disappointing.
I agree. Even though I missed everything that you just said, I agree with it 100%. I did catch that I think Marvel missed the mark. I did catch that like Marvel missed the mark with Amazing Fantasy. But I haven't read this one yet. But Alien, I'm probably going to just drop it after this one. I can't believe
you're still reading it after how many issues?
I know. This is issue number 6.
Is Weyland-Yutani still the good guy?
I couldn't tell you. That's
a sign that you need to drop the book.
Probably. I do want to go ahead and say hello to Bueller. I got the chance to hang out with him yesterday. He got to direct Bob and I doing the Coffee and Comic show. So I had a really fun time. You can catch me on Bueller's show. I would say go like and subscribe, but you're probably already liked and subscribed to this dude because he's amazing. So you can catch me at 5 a.m. Western time on over on that channel. So Bueller, thanks for having me again, and can't wait to hang out with you this weekend. So one of the other books that I got from Marvel last week is the Captain America. This one, I mean, it's been pretty interesting. They each feel like one-shots because the premise of this, the United States of Captain America, is that they're trying to figure out something, and then they've got to go around to parts of the U.S. and they keep running into this network of Captain Americas. So this one is Joe Gomez, Captain America of the Kickapoo tribe. So I thought this one was pretty interesting. Like there's a part of me that's like, oh, like duh, of course Captain America would be an indigenous person. I mean, kind of not really, but that's a lot more nuanced than just that. I think that it's a pretty fun series. I would recommend it. I don't know what else to say.
I picked up issue 1 and I never read it, and then it just kind of got thrown into a box.
That is understandable. Another one I got, this Last Annihilation event. I have no clue what's going on with it really. But Cable Reloaded. I found a newfound love of Cable after this series with Dugan and Duggan, whatever. And
Gary, Jerry, Dugan, Dungan.
Gary, Jerry, Dugan, Duggan is their official title. Al Ewing is actually on this book, but I like Cable now. So that's kind of a weird plot twist.
She's a Cable stan, y'all. I mean, to be honest, I feel like, hopping from Magneto to Cable kind of feels like a natural order of things.
Yeah.
They're very similar, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Wink.
I'd hop from Magneto to this Cable. Both Cables, actually. Like, both of them can get it. So anyways, it was pretty good. He's back in his own timeline now instead of the young timeline, so that's been fun to get to. And it made fun of the pouches. It made fun of the pouches thing in here, and I give it all credit to just pointing fun at the stupid 90s pouches. So 90s pouches. Most of these other books that I have here were really just cover buys, so I'll go ahead and show those really quick. Of course, I had to get my girl Jubilee on Wolverine.
Yeah.
Because of course, I also had to get Silk.
I also grabbed that. It's somewhere around here.
I did also pick up Voices Identity. So I did pick this one up, the Peach Momoko cover, and then I did pick up, because of course, Jubilee. So I picked those up. I haven't read them yet, so I probably actually should read these. And then I did pick up the facsimile edition, which, just so everyone knows, this book original printing is insane price right now because it's the first appearance of Miles Morales. There's only like 2 differences in the facsimile and the original, and that is the Marvel logo here and then like something right here, but otherwise don't get fooled. Don't spend thousands of dollars on the facsimile unless you want to buy mine for some reason. You can buy mine for thousands of dollars if you really want to.
For those in the show that might not know what a facsimile is basically a reprint of a famous issue. So we see it happen a lot from Marvel and DC. Sometimes we see it from Image with a lot of their #1s. But it's basically a reprint of something massive that has happened in comics. We've seen it on DC side with the reprintings of like Poison Ivy and the reprintings of Action Comics #1, which you will never see. And with Marvel, of course, reprintings of Miles Morales. I know I own like reprintings of She-Hulk and reprintings of Valkyrie, and these are books that one day I hope to get my hands on, but if I can't, usually a facsimile is only cover price, so like $3.99, $4.99. So it's a nice thing where if you just want it for the sake of having it, it's a great alternative than spending, $1,000.
100%. And I will also, that I'm not like a speculator by any means, but surprisingly enough, facsimile and like the dollar printing books usually end up retaining their value pretty darn well.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have a facsimile edition of House of Secrets 92. Right now, that's probably the closest I'm going to get to House of Secrets 92. And it's still worth maybe $60-$70. Maybe that's like graded and for a good copy. And then so not necessarily that I want to be like, go buy this book, but I think for this one you'll probably see something like
You'll get
this
your
worth
money back
100.
on it.
You'll see something like this worth $100 in the next year or two.
Absolutely,
So
100%.
if you're that person,
if you're that person,
I'm not saying I am, but maybe I am. But the last Marvel book that I have here is Darkhawk. Did you get a chance to pick this one up?
I don't even know who the hell is a Dark Hawk? What is that? Batman with wings?
I love you
I'm
so
serious.
much.
As the DC brain, what the fuck is a Dark Hawk?
So Darkhawk is so this Darkhawk is going to be very different. This one's a new one. Their name is Connor or something. But this was actually a really fun book, and it's done by Kyle Higgins. And I feel like every damn thing that I'm seeing by Kyle Higgins feels Power Rangers, because they're they were the writer on Power Rangers.
They have a Power Ranger brain.
They do, and because like Radiant Black, and they're doing Ordinary Gods right now, which is probably like the one thing that I would say isn't. But this one was really interesting. It's about a young boy who ends up getting this medical diagnosis and then ends up with powers, whatever. What I thought was really, really interesting about this book, it isn't a new Marvel series, so it is a number one. So new character. But the medical diagnosis that the character gets is MS, or multiple sclerosis. And my mom actually has MS. And so even though it looks different for everyone, everyone's diagnosis and everyone's life can look very, very different with MS. I loved the care that this book put into that. And Kyle Higgins has said that what he's going to do is every book he's going to interview someone from the MS community, which I thought was fantastic. And he actually, in the back of this one, interviews a woman who is an artist, and what she went through with her diagnosis, what it's like being a creator. And so I just thought that was fantastic. So I'm probably going to be picking this book up just for that.
That's interesting. So, that's cool to know.
Yeah.
See, learn new things every day about characters that look like Batman.
Yeah, this one definitely feels a lot more, maybe more Black Knight-ish to me.
Okay.
I don't know. Let's go ahead and see here. I see a whole bunch of like comments in the chat, and okay, I feel like I missed a whole bunch of people. So if I missed saying hello to you, then hello, howdy to everyone.
Howdy.
Howdy. Alrighty. Do you want to go to DC?
I think we should.
I think we should.
Where do we start? Because I have 3 DC books here, and I loved each and every single one of them, just like 100%. Like, I love them all. Let me go ahead and let's talk about this because it's on the top of the stack. Robin number 5 came out last week, and I loved this issue so god dang much. Like, this is why I love it's books like these, why I love the Bat family. So, for those of you that don't know, Robin, has been a series following Damian Wayne. Right now, he's kind of run away from home and run away from Gotham after the events of what happened in City of Bane, where because Robin betrayed direct orders, unfortunately, Alfred died at the hands of Bane and Thomas Wayne. Spoiler, it's been 2 years, but spoiler alert.
Yeah.
So Robin is basically running away and trying to find himself. And right now he has found himself in this Lazarus tournament where basically he's trying to prove that he is the best fighter. Last issue, we saw him run away from the tournament to basically reconnect with his grandfather, Ra's al Ghul. This week, it's him reconnecting with various members of the Bat family. So we see Stephanie, Tim Drake, we see Stephanie Brown, Tim Drake, Jason Todd, and Dick Grayson all show up trying to get Robin to come back home to Gotham because Batman is quote unquote worried about him without saying he's worried about him.
That's so
and
sweet. Batman.
Batman, he would never say it, but he feels it.
He would never say it ever.
So Robin, Damian Wayne is like, okay, I'll come back to Gotham if you guys can catch me. So the entire issue is basically this long-running chase across the rooftops where it's Damian besting different members of the Bat family, you know, so he's making comments to Tim Drake, he's making comments to Stephanie Brown, to Dick Grayson, to Jason Todd, and they all kind of get these like one-on-ones with him as they're trying to chase him on this rooftop. There's one scene in particular though that really, really got me, and it's this moment that he has with Jason Todd where, you know, he stops Jason and he's like, you know, Tim Drake is the smart one. Stephanie Brown is the fighter. Cass is, you know, this and that. Yeah. And he's like, but do you know what you are, Jason Todd? He's like, you're the most emotional. And he hugs Jason Todd. And in doing so, you know, kind of knocks him out. But it's the little moments that he gets. And then, you know, there's a long conversation that he has with Dick Grayson because Dick Grayson, spoiler alert, actually lets him go and is like, I understand that you need to do this. He's like, because you and me have a connection that the other ones don't have. He's like, you were my Robin. And it's these little tender moments with the Bat family that I love. And I want books just I want this to be its own series, and we are going to be getting a Robin series or a Bat family series, because it was the winner of the, you know, whole voting challenge, which was totally rigged. But
yeah, totally, 100%.
I want an entire series that's just the Bat family being a family. It's a bunch of kids and young adults doing what kids and young adults do. So I would definitely say that if you aren't reading this series, but you have a love for these characters, you can pretty much pick up this issue on its own and just kind of enjoy the emotional and the, you know, just the character interactions between them.
That's good to know because I bought the first issue, maybe the second one. I know I read the first one, but probably not the second one. But that makes me definitely want to read that one. And it's issue number 6, right? So I feel like that's a good like closing of the arc.
Issue number 5. So I think there's one more before because the tournament actually has not started. So the entire series so far has been them leading up to the tournament. It's Robin interacting with a bunch of people, running away from this tournament that he ran away from, you know, from home to go to. And I feel like it's really, I think that this series is working to make Damian a likable character because I feel like there's a lot of people out there that really don't like Damian.
For good reason.
I love the little bastard and he's precious and perfect. And anybody who says otherwise, you can see me outside. I will fight everybody for Damian Wayne. But I feel like this book is actually the way that Nightwing right now is working to kind of restore Dick Grayson's legacy after going through that awful Rick Grayson time period for 2 years. I feel like that's kind of what Robin's trying to do for Damian Wayne is they're trying to make him a likable character and to grow on people like officially unofficial geek just said in the chat. I think it's definitely a series worth picking up, especially when it comes to trade, because it is a great starting point for a lot of people.
You know, I will probably end up doing that, especially because the way that I know that it's like, you know, a completely different series and Nightwing is obviously like on issue 70 something, whatever now. But I feel like Nightwing and Robin surprisingly have, I mean, I know Nightwing has been a fantastic series, so I'm definitely going to try to pick up Robin.
Fantastic. It feels like a new era for the Bat family. Now, if we could just get Jason Todd a good book with some good character development, you know.
I was going to say Batwoman.
I'll take Batwoman too. Well, when I think Bat family, I feel like Batwoman, yes, she does interact with the crowd, but when you think about Jason and Dick and Damian and Stephanie and Cass, they look at each other as brothers and sisters, whereas Kate Kane is ironically she's the cool queer aunt. So like
she is the cool queer aunt. Yeah. She really is. Speaking of Batwoman, she does make a very tiny, small, like 1 or 2 panel appearance here in Fear State. Did you pick this one up?
I did not because it's another event and I don't I'm tired. Why?
I
Why?
100% understand that, but I think that you need to pick this up. And there is, so the whole premise of this is that there's a conversation with Scarecrow and, obviously, you know, gonna make everyone in Gotham afraid and poop their pants, I guess. But there's this really sweet moment. There's lots of really sweet moments in this, and there's one in particular that like pretty much made me cry this week. And
I
yeah,
can't.
so I'll send you the panel later. But there's this moment where Harley, she needs to hide a whole bunch of these villains. So Miracle Molly, and so anyways, Harley Quinn goes to the gardener and says, "Hey, I know that Ivy has been." Like missing, I know that like Ivy's been underground, but I really need to hide these folks, and that's the one place that I need to hide them. That's the place where I know where to hide them. And so Harley Quinn is talking to the gardener, and the gardener's like, no, Ivy is really angry right now. This is not the Ivy that you know and that you love. And Harley, so anyways, spoiler alert, Ivy does let them in, and there's this sweet, beautiful moment between, I'll see if I can get the panel, where Harley goes to Ivy and is like, I know that you're angry. I know you're not the person that you normally are, but you're my safe place. Like, you are
Like,
my
you're my
home.
home.
You are my
Oh,
home. Ah, it's so good. Let me see if I can find the panel. And so she's basically like, hey, like, I need you to hide these folks for me. Um,
I'm so emotional.
it's
I
so
love
good.
I love the absolute character development that we've gone through with these two characters, because it started with 4 or 5 years ago where it was like, okay, Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn, they're just gal pals. They are
Yeah.
just gal pals. And now DC is finally embracing it, I guess, because the fan base has just been yelling hysterical the whole time.
Yeah.
And DC is finally accepting and actually pushing forward that they are a full-fledged couple now,
Oh,
which
for sure.
is exciting. We did it.
It is. Let me see here. So, like, we see Ivy show up in this. Here, I'm going to full screen myself really quick. So you do see like this moment right here where Ivy shows up just looking like the beautiful goddess that she is.
Mm-hmm.
And then Harley Quinn, she's basically saying, like, Pammy. And then all of a sudden, they just get this really cute huggy moment right here in the corner, if you can
Mm-hmm.
see it.
Yeah.
And she just hugs her and she's like, oh my God, Pammy, I've missed you so freaking much. I'm so glad you're okay. I'm sorry I ever let you out of my sight. And then um, on the next page, Ivy is just really, really angry. And you can see how much Harley just loves her. Oh,
Who did
it's
the
so good.
artwork in this? Because the artwork is
Federici.
phenomenal. Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, I might have to pick it up. Okay.
Yeah. So good. Seriously, when I say that made me cry, like I am in tears thinking about it right now. So I know I kind of spoiled it for everyone watching, but it was a really beautiful moment, and I want to see more of that.
Oops. Okay, so another book, I know you didn't get a chance to read this, but Superman Son of Kal-El #2 came out. This is another Tom Taylor series. I don't like Superman. I don't. And I don't want to say he's a boring character, because he's not. There are stories out there that make him interesting. I'm just, as we know, I'm not the type of person to really like goody two shoes characters. I kind of like them, them kind of bad boys, bad girls type of characters. But Superman Son of Kal-El feels like the modern Superman story that we need right now in this, I'm going to say it, this millennial day and age. Because it asks the powerful questions in this book. Superman and his son John have these really intense conversations where John looks him in the face and is like, Dad, you could solve climate crisis, you could solve school shootings, you could solve all of the things that we're going through right now. Why don't you? And John kind of looks at him and is like, if you won't do it, then I will. Because I feel like
Ooh,
Superman kind of gives this, I don't want to say excuse, But he basically says, you know, it's not my place. If I do everything for them, they won't be able to do it themselves. And I understand that, especially when we look at, you know, he's kind of like a boomer. He's coming from
Yeah.
that sort of Gen X boomer perspective that we've all heard or maybe say. And, you know, he kind of, with his millennial Gen Z brain, is like, no, we can do better. So why not? And so he says,
Yeah.
okay, well, if you won't do it, I'll do it myself. There is a scene in this book in particular that I feel like Tom Taylor is coming for blood.
Ooh.
With Americans and the way that we operate in this country, because for those of you that don't know, Tom Taylor is Australian, and he's from Australia.
I didn't know
There
that.
he's from Australia. So Tom Taylor, there is a scene in the beginning of this book where John is starting college with this secret identity, and the first day or whatever, there is a school shooter on the premises, and the school shooter is loading bullets into his gun that are etched with the words thoughts and prayers. And it feels like Tom Taylor is coming for American policies and American government.
Wow.
And the fact, it made my jaw drop, because it's not in a cringy way. It's not in a, you shouldn't have done that. It's more of a, I can't believe DC editorial let him get away with it sort of way. So
Yeah.
Tom Taylor, please keep doing what you're doing on this book, because this is a phenomenal book. I love this book. I can't believe that a Superman book is one of my favorite books right now. But you know, that's Tom Taylor for you.
It's so funny to me because anyone who watches the show kind of knows this, but not necessarily that I would call myself a Marvel person over a DC person, but
But
you are
you are.
definitely I'll take that. But I will you are definitely more of a DC person than a Marvel person, and it's so funny to me that as someone who is like such a DC person, like that you don't have any, there's no love lost between you and Superman whatsoever.
No.
No.
I mean, the guy's fine. There are Superman
Yeah.
stories that I do enjoy, and
Mm-hmm.
ironically enough, they're all the stories with his son. But like, it's just not, unless Henry Cavill is standing in front of me as Superman. I
Yeah.
don't really care. I understand why he's some people's favorites, but
Yeah.
I can't do it.
There's three DC books that I haven't read yet. And I've got them here, and Mr. Miracle, Batman Reptilian, and Harley Quinn #6. Haven't read any of those. So I'm just going to put those in over here. Um,
There is a very important book that came out this week after waiting
this
for
week.
what feels like so long. We
Yeah.
finally got Wonder Girl #3. I just love, listen. First of all, my girl's getting a Funko Pop. And yes, I already have 2 of them pre-ordered.
Oh my
So
God.
if you have not pre-ordered your Yara Funko, please contact your shop. Please go to entertainmentearth.com, bigbadtoystore.com, and pre-order one or multiple copies of a Yara Floor Funko, because I definitely have. I know he's not in the chat right now, but I know me and Greg at Bearded Comic
Oh
Bro
yeah.
were like yelling back and forth, like, how many did you buy? Oh, how many did you buy? Um, I listen. I Let's start with the bad. I don't understand why we're having to wait so long between issues. It makes
Well,
me really nervous and really
Joelle
worried.
Jones.
But hear me out. Hashtag hear me out. This book has multiple artists on it. So we get half of the book is Joelle Jones. All of our Yara floor scenes are with Joelle Jones. All of our non-Yara floor scenes, because there is some back and forth right now between Yara Floor, and we see Cassie Sandsmark in this issue and Artemis in this issue. All of that art is done by Adrian or Adriana Malo, who did
Mhm.
the art for Female Furies. She also did the art with Gail Simone on Birds of Prey during the Brightest Day run. So I feel like if you are only doing half of the issue, listen, Miss Jones, what's the
Ooh.
holdup? Because you're not
What
doing a whole
else?
lot of covers right now. You're not doing any other interiors right now.
I think that she's
So
working on more Lady Killers, though, isn't she?
listen, I need more Yara Floor. Give me more Yara Floor. Um, this issue was definitely better than the last issue. So I know we complained with issue 2. Issue 2 was a little slow, if I'm being quite honest with you. Yeah. I don't even remember what happened in issue 2 except for the end, because it was just continuing to build up, whereas issue 3 kind of starts off with Yara being shot by Eros, and she goes from having feelings for this random bus driver that she met, which came off as a little weird because the issue starts with them out for no reason, but hey, it's a I'm hot, you're hot situation, let's make out.
Oh yeah.
So
which I mean, isn't that the dream?
That is the dream. Totally get that for you, girl. But then it goes to Yara being shot with an arrow by Eros, and her falling in love with him. But we finally get to start to see some of the foundation that we saw in Future State Wonder Woman. So we see her little, I can't think of her name, but like her little nymph friend. Mm-hmm. We start to see the alligator queen that was teased in the issue of Future State Wonder Woman. So we're starting to finally see that foundation as Yara Flor becomes Wonder Girl. And then, as I said, it's an alternating storyline. So it's Artemis and Cassie Sandsmark, who is Wonder Girl at the moment.
The moments between those two are absolutely hilarious. Like I love those moments for sure.
I just like the way that Joelle Jones writes all of her characters, because I feel like in this issue in particular, we get to see more of that Yara Flor spunk. You know, there's a part where, you know, these creatures come out to fight her and she grabs her bolus and
she's like, I have this.
She's like, I'm going to fight you. And then she totally screws up and she's like, okay, I see where I was wrong here. I'll just be going now. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, I feel like that is why, I know that's why I love Yara Flor. I know that's why Greg loves Yara Flor. I'm sure that's why a majority of people love her. Yeah. It's that spunk. It's that everyday sort of personality where it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to rush in headstrong to do it, realizing that you screwed up and then being like, I am now the consequences of my actions. So.
Yeah. And I think with what we saw, especially from this character in Future State, is that this character is she's extremely flawed, right? And she's not perfect. She's not Wonder Woman for, you know, who I think Wonder Woman is always going to do what's right, no matter what the cost and all of that, which I guess there's honor in that. But I think this character understands that you can't always do that. So I really like that lack of grace that she has.
Ooh, 100%. Lack of grace. That's a good term for it. Yeah.
Yep. For sure.
So more Yara Flor, please. 100%. I need more.
Let's see. It looks like there's only one other book that I read. I did get Superman 78, didn't read it. And I did also get the Harley Quinn annual. It looks like someone mentioned this in the chat. I got it. I didn't read it, so I'll probably try to read it now. But one of the other books that I did get this week that I actually really enjoyed, and my favorite part of this was actually the artwork inside, and that is Midnighter, the Midnighter Annual. And I really enjoyed this. For those of you who don't know, Midnighter is extremely gay, and he's extremely angry.
He's gay Batman. He's gay Batman mixed with Jason Todd.
100%. And I love the moments between him and Apollo, and there's a lot of like time travel-y stuff in here. I would say that this was a good book, but I think that you do need to know a little bit about Midnighter in order to get it, but you could probably read this and check it out without knowing too much. Mm-hmm. I thought it was fun, but I think Midnighter is just a angry character. And I love it. Like, I love it whenever like he's about to go in and he just like does that Midnighter smile. And the artwork by Michael Avon Oeming was just fantastic. So would highly recommend this.
And that was done by Becky Cloonan, wasn't it?
Conrad and Cloonan, for sure.
Very exciting. Very, very exciting.
That is the DC books. So now
we're going into indie, and I know that there was one very big book that came out this week that I'm sure you have been dying to talk about, and I've been dying to hear your thoughts on. Oh, she's got a lot of indie books.
This is the indie pile for 2 weeks. Really quick, some of the books that I picked up but haven't read. Siphon issue number 2. I have no clue what's going on. I'm going to drop it. I did pick up Life Formed by Scout. This one's a pretty thick book, and this one is more young adult. And I've been liking some of their young adult stuff, so we'll read that. Do, 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 do. Black Caravan, Broken Souls Ballad. I did go through this one, but I don't know what's going on. The artwork is really pretty though. But the book that I was most excited about this week, I'm pulling out.
It was Cult of Dracula, wasn't it?
It was Cult of Dracula by
Source Point Press.
Source Point Press, my favorite book of the year. Just kidding.
How do you feel? What are your thoughts?
So this book, issue number 5 of The Many Deaths of Laila Starr. I know that's why everyone's here, is to wait for me to talk about this. So thank you for being here. Thank you for waiting an hour and a half into the show. This book was beautiful. It was perfect. This book could have gone a couple different ways, and it ended differently than I expected, but it was perfect. The whole premise of this book, if you haven't watched this show and you don't know, this book is about Laila Starr, who's the goddess of death. This is all told through Indian mythology. And she loses her job because there's a young man who is going to invent the cure for mortality. So she loses her job, ends up going down to Earth, inhabiting a human body. And spoiler alert, in the first issue, she goes to go see this young boy who's a baby. In fact, she goes there, tries to kill him, doesn't, she dies. And so each issue has been like, she dies, it's 10 years later. She dies, it's 15 years later. And she meets this character at different points in his life. In this one, she meets him as an old man. This book was so beautiful. It ended perfectly. I stand by that this was my favorite book of the year.
That's your book of the year?
My book of the year. And of course, I got all the covers.
Locked and loaded, book of the year.
Book of the year. I really don't think that there could be any other book that tops this one.
I'm really excited. I enjoyed the first issue, but it was definitely one of those books where it's like, okay, I need to consume it all in one sort of sitting, trade style. So as soon as that trade hits for solicitations, which I actually think it did this month, I will be pre-ordering it, and I can't wait to be able to finally read it and enjoy it, because you just speak so magnanimously about this book. So that's a big word for me today. But
it is.
You have nothing but good things to say about The Many Deaths of Laila Starr, and so does everybody else, it feels like.
Yeah, I feel like this is me just dreaming it, hoping it would happen. I would love to see spin-off series. I would love to see this continue. And I think it ended in a way that both wrapped it up perfectly, but also you could see Laila Starr return. I think that would be really fun. Whether we get that or not, I have this, and it was beautiful and it was perfect. A couple days ago, Ram V, who's the writer on this, actually posted that some of the influences for this was Sandman and Death, the High Cost of Living. So that was beautiful to see, because I got Death from Sandman vibes completely from it.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
Seems phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. But there was a lot of other indie books that came out over the last 2 weeks.
Another book, I guess, that will go on. There was a couple series that ended. So, for me, Alice in Wonderland ended this week, and this was just a cute book. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I wasn't expecting anything like massive, life changing.
Yeah,
I literally was just reading this book because it was a great, feel good queer story that was very funny. I personally think that the artist, Elisa Romboli, I know that she is due to come out on a new book, I believe, next month from Black Mask as well. She is going to be, honestly, I feel like, a breakout artist. Her artwork is phenomenal. The way that she draws characters,
here first, folks.
The expressiveness that she gets in her characters. Maybe it's because I've been following her for a while. She did Overwatch fan art for years that I kind of latched onto, and I didn't even realize that it was the same person when I started reading this book. But Alice in Wonderland is just a cute, feel-good, queer romance book. Definitely one of those recommendations where if somebody says, hey, I want something very queer, this is going to be one of the first books that I recommend. I think my only gripe with this book is the book started with her living in a house of sex workers, and then I feel
Yeah.
like we didn't really get to see anything after that, and
Yeah.
I wanted to see more from the sex workers. So hear me out. Can I get a spin-off title that's just about the
Ooh.
sex workers and their interesting lives? Because
Yeah.
I would pay a lot of money for that. But this was a great little 5-issue miniseries. I feel like it was definitely a palate cleanser. It was one of those books that I was looking forward to each and every month. So now that I don't have my palate cleanser, I need something new to fill that void.
Yeah. I with that book, I think I picked up like I missed an issue one week and then didn't like picked it up like the following week and then forgot to read it. And I know that I had some gripes about the book that were totally stupid and was totally just about like me being like, this is where my suspension of disbelief ends. But it was a really wholesome book. Just
It
I
is
mean,
very
not
wholesome.
despite being about a lesbian who breaks up with her girlfriend and then ends up moving and like going and working in a sex shop. But 100%, I would love to see, would love to see
Would love to see
more
more.
from this. Yeah,
100%.
for sure. The X-rated, the R-rated. I would love to see this like an R-rated book.
Yeah, because it felt very. I mean, yeah, there was sex
It's
toys. Yeah, there was.
PG-13.
No, because there's definitely some boobies. There's lots of boobies, so I wouldn't say it's
Yeah.
PG-13, but it's definitely not. It's not a Sunstone. We'll say that. It's definitely your
Ooh,
tamer.
okay.
It's your Sunstone in training, for lack
It's
of a
family
better word.
friendly.
For whose family?
Yeah.
But very
Um,
good book.
Chaos in Comics brings up Safe Sex. I agree. Safe Sex is a fantastic book, and I don't know if it's right now or if they're later. They have Safe Sex on Kickstarter, the second volume. So,
No, the second volume was just released in solicitations for last month or this month. I don't know. I have it pre-ordered. So I'm glad because I personally don't want to have to pay the Kickstarter. I mean, I always want to support books like this,
I
but
love,
sometimes
yeah,
Kickstarter prices can be a little pricey, especially when you get the shipping involved. So the fact that
yeah,
it was able to go direct to market and it ended up being a direct to trade rather than coming out in single issues, which if I'm being quite honest, I feel like a lot of indie books need to just go to that OGN format rather than issue to issue, but that's a whole conversation for another day.
for sure. Did you end up picking up Barbaric?
I did. This was another final issue, but not a final issue. So
It's just the beginning or the end of the first arc.
this book is doing some weird things because it felt like this book just started and now it's ending. So
Mm-hmm.
Barbaric is doing kind of small little snapshots. So it feels like each arc is like 3 issues or something. Unfortunately, Barbaric doesn't come back until 2022, which makes me sad because I I actually
This
had
was
to read
good.
this morning because I forgot to read it last week, and every time I'm like, oh, Barbaric, it's just, your average fantasy tale. But every time I read it, it's the character interactions. It's Owen, it's
Yeah.
the axe, it's Soren, it's funny, it's witty. I
I
was thinking this morning that, if you like this, then you should read this. And the only thing I can keep saying is if you read Rat Queens, you should read Barbaric.
mm, my days of suggesting Rat Queens is over, but
No, no, no. Instead of Rat Queens, you should read
instead of
Barbaric.
Rat Queens, you should read Barbaric. Okay, I 100% see that. I agree. I think that the everything from the artwork to the colors to the writing, the characters in this book, I think are what makes this. Like, if I can't sell this book to you by telling you that there is a talking axe that thirsts for blood, like if that doesn't sell Barbaric to you, I don't know what the hell will. It's basically Conan, and it's this like sword and sorcery type book that is it's fun and it's accessible. Um,
It feels
I
like
really
somebody's wacky D&D campaign come to life.
oh 100%. Um, especially a lot of chaotic neutral characters with a really fun DM who doesn't give a shit about the rules.
Mhm.
So would highly recommend this. I did get, I know this is kind of weird, and I if everything everything comics, if Bob is in the chat, I feel like he'd probably hate me for saying this, but it reminds me a little bit of Kanto, but if Kanto was like R-rated instead of PG,
Okay.
because I love the sense of adventure that it has, and
Yeah.
I think that Kanto for sure has that. I want to
And
say
the
hello to a
next
couple.
And the next arc we're getting is because I see that Jack put it in the chat. The next arc we're getting is vampires, and like, hear me out.
Vampires, yeah.
I want vampires.
Yeah. Yep, 100%. So like I said, this should definitely, the trade should be coming out. I think it's, even though this was a late comer to the game, it's definitely on my top of the year list for sure. Like if I'm Laila Starr's at the top. This will probably make it to my top 10 somewhere, but I'll wait till closer to the end of the year to really start making that list. So, alrighty. So, what else do we got here?
Did you get a chance? There's a little book that came out last week by the name of Die. Did you get a chance to read Die number 19?
You know, I did. And here's the thing. Hear me out. Here's the thing is that I don't, reading this one wasn't bad. I think that so I think that it's in the first issue where we find out that one of the sorry, let me go back a little bit. In the first volume of this, of Die, the whole premise is that a group of kids go in to play this like Dungeons and Dragons type game, and they go in, play their game. They're there for what, 15 years, or they're there for a really long time.
They're there for a while.
Come back, and so they basically get stuck in the game, and then they come back and they have to like lead their regular normal ass human lives. One of the characters, who is assigned male at birth in the real world, comes into the Die world and plays a female character. And issue 19 finally addresses that for some reason.
Yep.
I both loved and hated it. I loved the conversation that was had about that and about gender, but why the fuck did we wait till issue 19 to have that conversation? Like, that should have been issue 1 or 2 whenever that came out.
Or even if it was just in the first arc, because it's something that was addressed in the first arc. And actually, I believe that little sprinkles of it were kind of planted because, you know, in the first arc, you know, they explore, yes, this is a male assigned person at birth that plays a female character. In the first arc, we're told that, you know, Ash assumed a male lover for many years and explored their sexuality with men. In the second arc, we're explored that they got married to a man or at least had a child with a man. And as somebody that was assigned male at birth, went through the steps of pregnancy and birthing a child and then motherhood. And then now we're finally, as you said, having that conversation of, you know, sexuality and identity. So if we take out of context how long it took for us to happen, the issue in itself and the way that it was presented to us and the idea of rebirth and foundation, and not only that, but also the support from Soul, because I feel like these interactions and possibly this romance, for lack of a better word, between Soul and Ash is something that I have been waiting since issue 1 or 2. And you know it's there, and at least I think it's there, and I keep wanting it to be shown. But I don't know, it felt like a feel-good issue in terms of what was happening, the way it was presented to us.
They finally made peace with a lot of things.
They made peace with a lot of things, and it was it's probably the first issue in about 7 issues
a
that
year.
Didn't feel like a chore to read, because it feels like, especially with the whole third arc, with a majority of the second arc, it felt like it was a chore to read, and it felt like a struggle. And we have, that being said, we took 1 issue to talk about, you know, sexual identity and the acceptance of that sexual identity. That's great and all. I believe that a whole issue needed to be had on that. You did it on issue, but you did it on issue 19, and now we have one issue to wrap up this big, long legacy saga.
Yeah.
I don't think that it can be done, especially because in solicitations, there's nothing about it being an oversized issue. There's nothing about it being extra pages. So in 27 to 32 pages. How are you going to wrap up something as huge? Because that is what it is. It's massive. Die is massive.
There's so many strings I feel like that still need to be done. And as much as I appreciate Kieran Gillen as a writer, I think that what happened with this book is that they maybe had like a really like good idea to go with it first. They went into it, and I loved the first arc. Like the first arc is one of the most highly recommended books that I would recommend. Die is fantastic. That first volume is. And then I think that they kind of went off the rails a little bit. And then I think they realized, oh, I'm on issue like 11 or 12. Wouldn't it be really cool if I ended on issue 20, like a D20? And then they're like, okay, well, now I've got to wrap up all this stuff. So I feel like there's going to be a lot to wrap up. I have been saying for about half the series now that I'm ready for this fucking series to die. I'm ready for it to end. I'm sad to see it go, but I'm also ready for it. I'm also ready for spin-offs. So maybe there's that.
And I've said it before. I feel like I say it every time we have an issue that features Die. Kieran Gillen has these great starting point ideas. When we look at the first volumes of Die, which I agree with you is probably one of the best things that I have ever read. It is something that I continuously go back and read and recommend. The first volume of Young Avengers, the first volume of his Star Wars Darth Vader run. These are ideas
Wicked
that are
and Divine. I
Wicked
loved
and Divine. These
are
ideas and concepts and character development and exploration that is on the brink of genius. And I don't like saying that, but it is. It's genius. But as soon as we get past that first arc, it's like he doesn't know what to do. It's like, okay, I have this idea, and now I've got myself in this pickle, and I have to keep going.
I got in a pickle.
But I don't know what to do with it. And I feel like Kieran Gillen should only be allowed to write a single arc, and that's it. Cut him off. Cut him off at the dickhead. Just single arc, and that's it. Because he's genius. I've read his Star Wars Darth Vader 1,000 times, and until Greg Pak came along, I was like, okay, this is the definitive Darth Vader story. Same with Die. Same with Young Avengers. But once you get past that, it starts to get muddy and confusing, and there's a lot of elements that are thrown in to kind of distract a reader, for lack of a better word, from the lack of plot or lack of development or story. I feel like he's got a similar problem with Grant Morrison, where it's Grant Morrison throwing big, and this is my personal opinion on Grant Morrison, where Grant Morrison throws big words and confusing words into a script to hide the lack of story. Maybe it was a bad comparison, but I think of the two as being very similar.
I get what you are saying there. Have you read Ludocrats?
I have not.
Because it's one arc. It's the wackiest, weirdest shit I have ever read. It was a weird book last year. I would recommend it though, because it's weird. It reminds me of Aubrey Sitterson in a lot of ways.
Okay.
And it's one self-contained arc, so maybe try Ludocrats.
Maybe try that.
Yeah.
But Kieran Gillen, man, you gotta do better. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if we gotta have a conversation, a one-on-one, but something's gotta happen here, my dude. Something has gotta happen.
Really quick, one of the books that I did read this week, and I love it, Aubrey Sitterson's The Worst Dudes. It just gets funner and funner. There's this part in the book where they go to, there is a place, and the name of it is just, like, the stuff that Aubrey Sitterson comes up with for this is just, it melts my mind because it's so good. It could be so wholesome, but it's not. It's filthy and it's dirty, and you all know that I love anything filthy and dirty. But they go to this like sex planet, and I don't even know if this is R-rated. Yeah, there's some boobies here, but it's called the Butt Buffet, and there's a 2-for-1 special on boobs and pubes, slinging dong and throwing leg. And let me see here. I wish that I could, like, I can't even.
Our legal team has advised us we can't show anything on screen.
Our lawyers specifically have mentioned that we can't. like, I'm going to describe it to you. So what's that movie? Is it Total Recall where the lady has 3 boobs?
I don't know, but it sounds
Chat,
familiar. So let's just say yes.
chat, help me out. Where's what's the sci-fi movie where the lady has a 3rd tit? Well, anyways, in here there is a lady with 3 tits, but underneath those 3 tits, there's another lady with 3 tits underneath that.
I'm just
There's
trying to imagine.
levels of
I
genius.
need you to send me a panel of this when we get off stream because I'm trying to imagine it and I can't.
I just love this book so much. And there's a moment where the main character is like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go into this place and I'm gonna get some dong." And they're like, "What? You're into guys?" He's like, "Yeah, I know the equipment." And it's just it's so good. It's wholesome and it's not. So
It's wholesome and it's not.
total.
It is raunchy wholesome.
It is raunchy wholesome, which is like my favorite thing. And Damien Sleepy Reader did confirm that it is Total Recall, 3 tits. So if you want to see a 3-titted lady who also has a 3-titted lady, the worst dudes. This is issue number 4. I think it's 5 issues, so the next one should wrap it up. It's really good. It's fun.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
What else did you get in your giant stack of indies? Because I only have 3 books left, and I know that you had over 1 million.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go through these. Some of them. I'm just going to go through them really quick. Mom, Mother of Madness, issue 2, sucked harder than the first one.
Really? How? Wait, whoa. How?
It's just, it's confusing. It's confusing. It didn't make sense. It was everywhere. It knows what it wants to be, but doesn't know what it wants to be. And I was rooting for you. I was rooting for you.
That's what happens.
It was not
when
good.
We let famous people write books that are not Oswald Patton or Patton Oswald.
Patton Oswald. Patton Oswald should have wrote this book. One of the books that also finished up this week, Phantom on the Scan, number 5. I feel like we got a lot of information. I feel like it wrapped up pretty good. I would like to go back in time and reread this just as a trade. I think that this one was a really good, weird horror science fiction book. Mm-hmm. Maybe pick it up. Cullen Bunn, did a good job. There you go for that. Published by Aftershock. I'm just going to leave this comment up for no other reason than just to do it. Speaking of Kieran Gillen, which we were talking about earlier, Once and Future, it's just really fun. I feel like it's getting a little bit out of hand, but I guess that's what Kieran Gillen does. It's weird though, because this is an issue number 19. I could keep seeing the series go and I'd really like it, where with Die is one of my more favorite series and I want to see it end. So
crazy stuff.
Yeah. Josue says that they were listening to the song on Phantom of the Scan because you can actually scan the QR code. Ooh. And it pulls up a song, which I love that, but I never do it. Okay. Something is Killing the Children. She had to go through a trial and she did it.
Congrats. Yay!
Congrats.
I'm so far behind on that book. I'm waiting for the deluxe edition to drop in, I believe it's October or November, which I think encompasses the whole first trade or the whole first act, if you will. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited about that.
Black Hammer Visions, I forgot to read issue 2 and then subsequently forgot to read issue 3 that came out. Mm-hmm. So that came out last week. Dune. Y'all know I just love Dune.
It's Dune. That's all you gotta say.
It's Dune. House Atreides. It's a prequel. Also, Josue, I'm going to leave my copy of Dune for you at the shop. So that should be waiting there for you. I picked up King Spawn for no other reason than I'm pretty sure I'd be picking this up. Didn't read it though. Couldn't really tell you what was going on.
It's Spawn.
It's Spawn. So I'm sure it's, Spawn. Beauty, one shot. It was pretty good.
Which is weird because that is a book that came out literally years ago. I remember being a small little comic baby, first getting into comics. That was one of the first indie books that I started collecting and reading and really enjoyed it, but then fell off the bandwagon. And now some 5 years later, we're getting a one shot. It doesn't make any sense. And it feels like we've been seeing that a lot from Image lately, where they're taking old series that haven't really seen anything in a long time, and all of a sudden we're either getting a sequel, a spinoff, or a one shot. It's very weird. I don't know what's going through Image's mind, but was it a good book?
If Image was like, yeah, we're gonna release 100 series are gonna get their own one shot, there's literally 99 other series that I would be like, oh, that's the one, right? Like, I would never imagine that Beauty would get a one shot, but it wasn't bad. It was kind of good, actually.
And Beauty is a good series from what I remember. I need to reread
Jeremy
it.
Hahn.
Definitely read Beauty. Real quick, 20-second pitch. It's an STD where it makes you beautiful and then you die. 20-second pitch.
20-second pitch. I would highly recommend Beauty. Also read
I don't know what Jen is telling you to read, but I'm sure she's telling you to read something phenomenal and fantastic. And there she is. Perfect.
Sorry.
What were you saying to read?
Oh, I was going to say read Beauty, and also read Red Mother. That was another really good series that I enjoyed, by Jeremy Hahn. Okay, Department of Truth. This is just a really good book. I think that it goes deeper and deeper into the American psyche, in the same kind of way that you mentioned, the kind of poking fun at American politics in Superman.
In Superman.
This one does that, but it's not poking fun. I feel like it's really exposing it. And it goes back into Cole, the main character, like a little bit of their history. And I just love that there's so many layers of this. So Department of Truth is fantastic. Philadelphia, another fantastic book. Thomas Jefferson is a jerk, and he's a jerk.
He's a jerk.
He's a jerk.
I finally read volume 2 of Philadelphia, so now I'm slowly prepping myself for the new spinoff series that comes out in, I believe, September or October.
Yeah. My favorite part about this book is, and I love Angela Davis a lot. There is a backstory in here that I imagine is Angela Davis, even though it's like not technically confirmed, but Ronnie Barnes did kind of confirm it. So anyways, there. The Old Guard, Tales Through Time, that came out last week. Did you read this one?
I hate this series so fucking much. I hate it. This series should have been, there was so much goddamn potential with the Old Guard. It is soldiers that live for 1,000,000 years, and it feels like I've had one issue the entire time that I've really enjoyed. If I'm being honest, I only read the first story. I didn't even read the second story.
Yeah.
And the first story was kind of interesting. It's Booker going into a church with a bunch of nuns, cursing out the church because he's drunk, shooting himself in the head, proving that he can live, and then being captured by weird sex nuns. And then Andy has to rescue him, and then it just ends. And I'm like,
yeah,
this could have been a whole arc, and I would have actually kind of enjoyed it, but it just randomly ended. And I'm over it. Please, I have one more series, and it's our pal Vita. I'm not pronouncing the last name because every time we butcher it, and Josue's in the chat, and I know that they will correct me on it.
I really don't want to make a fool out of myself in front of Josue, because you're like, I'll make a fool of myself in front of the 30-something people that are watching, but not Josue.
Not Josue. But it's Vita and Nicola Scott. I'm like, listen, Nicola Scott, I don't know what this next book looks like, but I need the beefiest men, the beefiest Andy. Just give me beef. Like, that is Nicola Scott's resume, is just beef.
Okay, so I've only got a couple more books here. I've got Ice Cream Man issue number 25. I think that they said that this was going to end it. In this book, basically what's happening is a plane is going down, and there is everyone on the plane is kind of in denial of the plane going down, but then there's one dude on the plane that's like, oh my fucking god, this plane is going down. And there's like a kid playing a video game or something, and he's like, yeah man, the plane's going down, whatevs. And then we get to see back on the ground, like, people are seeing this plane go down, and like one guy has a heart attack, and someone else thinks it's like an angel. it's weird and it's creepy and it's beautiful and it's all about that perspective. But it also just makes me think of like my experience in this world as like a millennial who is like, y'all, the plane is going down, like the earth is being destroyed, but hey, at least we have comics. Let's, find some joy in life. So this has been a beautiful series so far. I really hope this series could also go on forever. And I would love it. So.
It feels like it has gone on forever. I'm surprised that, like, it's one of those books where every time I see it, I'm like, that's still going, especially when Haha was only 6 issues. So, it's one of those.
The plane was doing what Batman wouldn't do. Go down. Thank you, Bobby. I'm just gonna leave. I'm just gonna leave this up here, for the rest.
The rest of the show.
The rest. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Bobby.
One of the other. I did end up getting Dark Blood #2. I'm really glad. You read #1?
I read #1. It was very, very slow, and I decided to trade weight it.
I'm very glad that I picked up issue #2. It was absolutely fantastic. I wish that issue #2 was issue #1. I stand by my thoughts that if you liked the show Lovecraft Country on HBO, that you should be picking this up.
This is a great companion book.
Yep. Please, please, please. I think that you should pick up Dark Blood. I think this is another contender for one of my favorite series of the year.
Be careful what you say, because we said that about Hollowheart, and look what happened.
That is also true. I think this is also a limited issue series. I think it's supposed to be like 5 or 6 issues. But this is a really good read. I really want to read issue 3. So I know that I think that you have 2 more books. Right?
I do. I have 2 more.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just say this one, The Lot, by Bad Idea, has been really good, interesting, horror movie feeling. I really like it.
Who's the creative team on that?
Marguerite Bennett, and I don't know who the artist is. Renata Guedes.
Okay, so that is the Marguerite Bennett book.
Yeah.
Speaking of Bad Idea, I was able to pick up my first Bad Idea book. So I traveled down to Annapolis, Maryland on Friday to one of my favorite shops, Third Eye Comics. If you haven't been to Third Eye and you're on the East Coast and within the Delmarva area, please go visit, because it is fantastic. It is humongous. They have everything you could possibly hope for. It honestly feels like one of those really rad, like, punk shops you would walk into in the city. Just music blasting, comics. The people are phenomenal. But I picked up Pirate Queen, which is my first Bad Idea book. And I was like, oh, fuck, a Bad Idea book. And Pirate Queen, this feels like my jam.
I want to say really quick, I've really loved every single book that I've read by Bad Idea that I've read so far. And I also want to premise this with, you have from the beginning, like, stand against Bad Idea. You're like, fuck those people. It's stupid. I don't want any part of it. And I'm so glad that you actually got to read it, because like all of Bad Idea's books have been really fucking solid, which makes me really sad that not every shop gets them.
Yep. Okay. So here we go. I'm playing devil's advocate right now. All right, we're going to go with the good, and then we're going to go with the bad, because I got a lot of bad. The good. Pirate Queen by Peter Milligan, who I'm actually familiar with from a really weird book called The Disciple. The Discipline. Very, very weird, very horny monster book that never got a continuation.
What the fuck? Why? Hold up. I have never heard of The Discipline, and you're telling me that a weird, horny monster book exists, and I haven't been recommended this book 100 times. Everyone out there, if you've heard me be horny for every monster ever and haven't recommended The Discipline to me.
To be fair, this is not a great book. It is
Okay.
it's a very weird, very horny monster book
That's
where it's
why.
about a woman who cheats on her husband, and is unsatisfied with her marriage. So she ends up having sex with this dude that's part of this weird monster cult and becomes one of these weird monsters herself.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
it was a very weird book that, they say that this is volume 1 and it's the first 6 issues, but then it never fucking continued. Um, I don't know. This was Baby Mars
Sounds
exploring
like the main character didn't have a satisfying ending.
this. This
That
was.
it's
I
a
have not
fixer.
reread this book in a while. I remember when I first picked it up, I really really enjoyed it, but I think it was just partially Baby Mars getting into indie comics
Yeah.
and partially Baby Mars exploring very horny comics and being very excited about that. So, yeah, it's very weird. Anyway, back to Bad Idea and Peter
Oh,
Milligan.
hold up. Was that book? Hold up. So, horny monster book. Was this book like written? Was this book secretly written by Mirka Andolfo?
No, because I think it was way before Mirka Andolfo even really came onto the scene in comics, if I'm being quite honest with you. This book was published back in, when was The Discipline published? 2016, which
Okay.
is only 6 years, and it feels so much longer than that, but,
I think I'm still gonna buy it and hate read it.
You might not even hate read it. You might just read it and be like, this is kind of okay, but what the fuck? Which I feel
Yeah.
like was my experience when reading it. So Pirate Queen by Peter Milligan. God damn, this book was so fucking good. Also, you were on mute, by the way, in case you did not realize. Okay, she does now. She has me muted. It's fine, everybody. So, Pirate Queen. God damn, this was such a fucking good book. It's literally what it sounds like. It's this lady that was born on the seas. She ends up getting married to this pirate captain. They end up having a baby together, or at least she's pregnant in the first issue. And then they're caught by British soldiers, and her husband is hanged. And she's not hanged because I guess there's a weird law where you can't kill a pregnant woman. Which, okay, weird flex, but okay. This is definitely one of those books where, like, if you were like me in your teenage years, and very sexually confused about Keira Knightley in Pirates of the Caribbean, definitely please read Pirate Queen, because it's definitely got Pirates of the Caribbean vibes, and I really like this character.
Okay.
All right, that being said, the art is gorgeous, by the way. I really like the art style on this too.
I'm really sad that I didn't get this book because I've like I said, loved everything Bad Idea. And it makes me sad that I'm glad that you finally got one.
Okay. That being said, all right, let's go with the bad. Let's go with the
bad.
Here we go. Bad Idea. Sit tight because I got some words for you. All right. First of all, I took this book up to my register. Okay. Checked out with all my items. Was like, that's weird. Why the fuck was my total so high? And I went and looked at my receipt. This book was $7.99. Are Bad Idea first issues usually that expensive? Is that a normal thing?
I don't know.
This book was $7.99.
My total is normally very high always. And so I'm just like, okay.
people in the chat, please tell me, is Bad Idea first issues usually $7.99? Because if so, what the fuck? If not, also what the fuck? Because there's no extra pages. Yeah, the cover is glossy, but if anything, this should have been like a $5.99 book, $4.99 book, whatever. Not $7.99. All right, you're not an anniversary special. Calm down. All right.
So the Law issue number 3 is $5.99.
Which wouldn't be terrible. I'm still kind of annoyed at that, but whatever. All right, now here's where we get pissy. And here's where I get off and go on my box. I really fucking liked this book.
Yeah.
I want to continue to read this book. This is a book where I would put it on my fucking pull list. I enjoyed it that much. guess what? Because Bad Idea has bad idea practices, limits what shops can get them, limits the weird subscription where you have to pre-order the entire series even before you read the first issue. Because of their stupid, weird fucking bylines, and because you confirmed last night that they don't do trades, apparently, I don't think
so. I haven't seen any trade solicited from them, anything like that.
I think they specifically said that they are not doing trades. I think I remember that right when they were releasing all of their stupid shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, I am not going to be able to read this phenomenal fucking book. I'm not going to be able to recommend this phenomenal fucking book, which is probably one of the better things that Peter Milligan has ever read, because Peter Milligan is known for doing really weird sex shit. And, you know, as we see with, you know, The Discipline, yeah, there was some sexy shit in this book, but it wasn't weird sex shit. It was just normal people having sex. Boom, a baby gets made. Well, when I say weird sex shit, I mean like creepy sex shit, not like weird monster that's kind of hot sex bullshit. I think it's the idea that it's so close but yet so far away for me that really fucking annoys me, because and yes, Little Bird was not supposed to get a trade, and that's another thing that I'm fucking mad about, because I bought all the issues and then they released a trade for it anyway.
Hold up. Fucks. So not only did they released a hardcover, so I have the hardcover, and then they released a trade. Yeah.
I'm fucking annoyed, because again, I want to read this book. This is my jam. It's fucking it's my jam. I want to read this book, and I fucking can't. So listen, Bad Idea, if you fucking hear me, send me all the fucking issues of Pirate Queen as a fucking consolation prize for being wronged. I don't fucking know. Just, I want to read this fucking book.
Like I said, though, hear me out. So I think that what I think is going to happen with Bad Idea, and I've been saying this since they've been like ringing their own like death bell, is that I do think that when it comes to Bad Idea, they are going to end up, they're not going away. They're just going to come back differently. So I think there's that. I'm hoping that they do end up come out with trades. I hope that they do end up, you know.
It's just, I know I keep saying it makes me mad. It makes me annoyed. But if that's the quality of books that you're putting out, because this book is very good quality, its coloring is phenomenal, its art is great, its writing is great, the editorial team behind it is phenomenal, and you have said yourself, the lot is great, ENIAC is great, you know, you've only had one where you're kind of like, it was okay, it wasn't great.
Tankers was all right, but it definitely was what it was. I only read the first issue. I didn't get into any of the other ones, but it was basically... people go back in time because the world has run out of oil, so they have to like go back in time and get oil.
But and it's like, but it's like, if this is the quality that you're putting out compared to like, say, like a publisher like Scout or Behemoth, where they are very hit or very, very, very fucking miss, and 9 times out of 10 it's very miss. The fact that these books aren't more accessible for readers is bullshit. It's I'm sorry, it's a bad idea. Comics already are so niche as it is that alienating a large target audience, because there are a lot of people that don't live in these, because it seems like Bad Idea shop carriers are in more populated areas like Portland, Annapolis, Maryland, where it's a huge fucking store and one of the biggest on the East Coast. I'm sure Midtown Comics supplies them. There's one store in Delaware that has them, or considers themselves a Bad Idea carrier, but when I talk to that shop, they don't even carry their books anymore because of the stupid bylines and the stupid contracts. They're like, we're done. It's too much. It's too much work for too little profit. And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And give me Pirate Queen.
I also think that with a lot of these Bad Idea titles too, there's so much negativity about them that I think that the people who follow Bad Idea are like Bad Idea like followers, right? But then there's also a lot of people who are like, well, I'm not going to pick it up, but seriously, the stories are great. Please don't spend $100 on like a first issue or ENIAC or anything like that. But please, if the trade does end up coming out, or if you find these, like, pick them up, because they're actually really good stories.
They're good books.
And to this point down here, because some of the rules that Bad Idea has in place, you are only allowed to sell one per customer. So the store can only sell one per customer. And I think that's supposed to stop speculators on these books. But if a store ends up selling more than one to someone, they can get Bad Idea banned and can be prevented from carrying those. But I think that a lot of stores are kind of done with it. So, and I don't think they're been solicited through Diamond. So you have to go through separate orders, separate shipping, and all of that with Bad Idea too.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
As you would say, a bad idea.
Jack, so Things from Another World, Milwaukee, I do believe has them. Books with Pictures here in Portland also has them if you end up, yeah. I've seen a Bad Idea tabletop promo stand in Portland. Yep. So that's Books with Pictures. Yep.
So that was my Bad Idea rant. I went on much longer than I thought I was.
That's okay.
There is another book that I feel like you would have been excited for last week. Yeah. Oh, look at us. We got the alternating covers. Look at that. Look at that. Huh.
I loved this book. I loved this book so much.
Y'all, this is such a weird book. Look at this. It's like a goddamn picture book.
It is. And so when I first saw this solicited, I almost didn't pre-order it because it shows up like this, and I'm like, that's weird. Is it a weird wraparound cover? Nah, fuck that. And then I saw that it's basically the creative team behind Batwoman. So it's J.H. Williams III as well as Hayden Blackman. And a little bit about this book. This book is apparently like almost 20 years in the making. Yep. So they really wanted to do this story, ended up doing Batwoman, and just ended up getting bogged down with other stuff. This book is absolutely beautiful. It is, to your point, read
like a picture book.
Like a picture book, sideways. I could not imagine the artwork being done any other way. It's basically Little Red Riding Hood, but like in this like weird post-apocalyptic fantasy future.
Post-apocalyptic gothic fantasy.
Gothic fantasy future. Yeah. I loved it.
I didn't love this as much as I wanted to.
Oh.
I think I'm definitely going to wait for the trade. I think in a full trade, I might enjoy it a lot better. I also think it was just one of those cases where it's like, oh my God, it's the Batwoman creative team, and setting my expectations extremely high. And then, you know, just hitting that above average mark. But the fact that it's read like this, it's like the whole time I'm like, can you imagine a Batwoman book like this? And then I'd get really sad and be like, oh, I miss Batwoman and fuck Dan Didio. But I really like a lot of the supplementary content that's in this. So, you know, you were stating that it's a 20-year making book, and they do talk about that a lot in the back. And I usually don't read a lot of the afterward stuff because, you know, I read with pictures, not with words, with my goopy gobble brain. So it was kind of interesting to see that and the passion and love that they have into the series, and how exciting it is that it's finally seeing the light of day. But one thing that really made me excited, and I'm sure Josue can attest to this, was the soundtrack in the back. So it's basically all of the albums and the music that J.H. Williams III listened to while making this. And I was like, at first I was like, oh, cool, these are songs and these are cool. And then I realized, wait a second, these are full ass albums. And it kind of puts it into perspective when you look at how many full albums there are, how much time it went into him making just this one little book.
So I follow J.H. Williams III on Facebook. I'm not really on Facebook very much, but he would post these albums all the time in like full ass record, like not just like listening to it on like Spotify. Like Homeboy is actually like putting this record in a record player, spinning vinyl. So that once again just added to the layers and the levels of this book and how much I appreciate it.
It's a good book. It's definitely like, it's that kind of like sad sort of, you know, what we could have had versus what we now have. you know, just because there is such, I feel like, a sad history with J.H. Williams and Hayden Blackenstone.
And there's
And
just
it's
Blackman.
Blacken. I don't know. It's sad. It's rough because it's a breakup. It feels like a breakup, and now this is sort of the renewal period. So I'm excited to see where this is going to go.
Yeah. That is all the single issues that I have bought, haven't read. I know that you said that you did a library haul. I've got a couple books from this week too, like some hardcovers that I bought this week. What did you get?
I have a library haul and I have a dumb bitch haul. So, as I stated, I visited a couple different. I visited Third Eye in Annapolis, got to pick up some stuff. You know, my own shop got in a collection, so I was able to pick up some stuff. Last week, I also picked up the trade for Punderworld, which is from Image Comics. This is done by Linda Sajic, which is Stepan Sajic's wife. So their art styles are very, very similar. It's just another goofy retelling of Hades and Persephone. I am a big dumb hoe for Hades Persephone stories. So for Olympus, Punderworld, there's a new one coming out and a manga. I'll buy each and every one. As we know, your girl is a Suicide Squad trash. So I was able to, at Third Eye this weekend, pick up all of the wonderful Suicide Squad variants. I absolutely love this one, and fucking Weasel and his dumbass face, and I just fucking love it. Also, this is my plug that today is the last day that you can watch Suicide Squad on HBO Max. If you haven't watched it 10 times like myself, please watch Suicide Squad, because it'll come back to HBO Max, but not for a couple of months as it transitions from theater to DVD. So, I'm not sponsored by WB at all. I'm just mildly obsessed with that movie. I was able to pick up some really awesome variants, or not variants, but cover buys for Secret Six, because it is one of my favorite series. This was funny because it was literally me calling my brother and being like, can you go into my comic drawer and tell me if I have this issue, this issue, and this issue, which is always, fun to have those phone calls. So I was able to get some of my favorite covers that have been eluding me for some time. Was able to snag the Secret Six reprint that I absolutely love. I've been trying to hunt down all of these reprint covers, and this was my favorite because it's my mint green, but it also features the whole family on there, which makes me really happy. Picked up this issue of Saga, which ended up being, I already own it, so I paid $6 for nothing. But that's fine. It's okay. It's comics.
It's Saga.
Picked up the first issue of Angela Asgard this morning, which I am very, very excited. I also picked up this issue number 6, which, I've been collecting a lot of the Stephanie Hands covers. This issue of Avengers Arena number 14. Do I need to tell you why I picked it up? No? Okay. You got it. Cool. And then I picked up third reprints of Hawkeye number 1 and Hawkeye number 2. Because I am, Hawkeye trash. So very excited about those. That's all my dumb bitch haul. But I went to the library for what feels like the first time in months. It's been a long time since I've gone to the library.
I feel like you go to the library a lot more than I do. So I'm just like, what do you mean it's been a long time? But yeah.
It feels like it's been a long time. So there's a big theme with my library haul, which I'm sure you guys will notice. So I picked up Suicide Squad Volume 1 of Rebirth. Read this. It was not very good. I'm going to say it here and now. Jim Lee is an overrated artist, and I wish he would just stop. Sorry. It was not very good.
Probably likes the smell of his own farts.
Probably. No, he seems like, maybe. Justice League versus Suicide Squad. This is also part of Rebirth. I haven't read this yet. Don't know if I'm excited, especially because Suicide Squad Rebirth wasn't that great. Also, by the way, I found out last night via a TikTok, of all things, that apparently Harley Quinn and Rick Flag kiss in Suicide Squad Rebirth. And I don't know how I feel about that. I don't like it. I don't want it.
Yeah.
Who did this? Who made this decision? Picked up Suicide Squad Volume 5 and finished this. If you know me, you know I don't like reading books that are written before like 2004. But this is Amanda Waller going to Apocalypse and fighting Granny Goodness with the Furies.
Oh,
So
yeah.
this book was written for my goopy brain, and it was phenomenal. I'm in the process of reading Suicide Squad Bad Blood, which
Yeah.
one of
Tom
my favorite
Taylor.
series. So good. It's so good. Listen, just read this book. It's great. And then there are 2 books that aren't Suicide Squad related.
Only 2.
So only 2. So the first one I actually picked up because of you, because you always speak so highly of it, and that is The Sacrifice of Darkness.
Yeah,
So I'm very
Roxane Gay.
excited to read that. And then I picked up, this is a manga. It's called Fangirl.
Oh yeah,
And
by Rainbow Rowell. Right?
it's a manga adaptation of Rainbow Rowell's book. So again, goopy gobble brain. I need pictures, not words. So this is great for me.
That's a lot of reading to do, but
It's a lot of reading.
I know you're going to get through it. A couple of the books that I ended up picking up, I did pick up Bliss, the trade.
Oh, that came out?
It did. And it was $20, but it ends up with all 8 issues. It was such a good series. So if you didn't get it by single issues, I would highly recommend that because it was really good. I also picked up The Women Who Changed Art Forever, about the Gorilla Girls. I don't know if you know about who they are.
I do not.
They were basically a group of women activists in the 90s, I believe it was, maybe a little bit earlier than that. And they were basically like, hey, why is it that 80% of the art in museums features like naked ladies, which is cool and all, but like less than 5% of the artists that you have in the museum are women. So just telling their story. So the artwork and the storytelling in this just looks absolutely beautiful. So I can't wait to dive into that. I love little memoirs like that. I did also pick up this. It's called Prince of Cats. My partner actually picked this up. So for those of you who don't know, not that it's a retelling of Romeo and Juliet, because it's more about Tybalt's story. I believe it's Tybalt. But basically from the only way that I know how to describe this, and I really hope this doesn't come off as like racist, but it's more of like a Black urban retelling of the story that I think is a lot more interesting than, say, the Romeo and Juliet from the 90s.
Makes sense. That's one of those books that's been on my list for a while, and I see it occasionally in the wild, and I just haven't picked it up yet.
I remember picking this up. We lent it to someone and they never returned it, which it is what it is. But then this one feels a lot more oversized than the original one we have. So I'm actually very thankful that I have this because it's big.
You're the big boy.
Yeah. And then the last thing that I picked up this past week was this Swamp Thing New Roots. And from what I understand, they did a whole bunch of digital first stories. And so this collects those digital first stories.
Oh, so you got new Swamp Thing. That's exciting.
Yeah.
So that's Monster Boyfriend.
More Monster Boyfriend. So that is pretty much everything that I've got. Do you have anything else? I mean, we're almost at 2.5 hours, which and 25 people here. So thank you everyone for hanging out. Mars, anything coming up or anything you want to talk about?
Every time I feel like I've been in a creative slump, and every time I try to create new content, write a new essay, I lose focus. So I'm giving myself time and space and thoughts to process. But I'm hoping that content creation will be back soon, because as you guys know, I love talking comics. I love discussing comics, but I'm in that weird lull where once again I don't know where I want to be with my content creating. Do I want to be more of a comic tuber vlogger-esque type person, or do I want to be a more informational type person? And you know, we just bad brain. Bad.
Yeah. I feel that. Because I like streaming, but I don't like editing. So, you know, I did to Jack, your point, I don't have them right in front of me, but I got some really cool zines from Stapled Spine. They do a horror zine, and it's specifically like Oregon horror, and it's really cool to be able to see this like old school, like it reminds me of stuff that I was reading in like high school, like this like really hand printed stuff. So really excited to get into that. So thank you for sending those. And I did get these. They're my passes to City Comic Con. So
very exciting.
Very excited to go. And it has Jonna and the Unpossible Monsters on them.
Aww.
Because Oni presses here and they'll be there. So I'm really excited to be able to maybe talk to some creators and maybe do like a little walkthrough video. And there's like, I was thinking about what are maybe like the 4 or 5 things that I think that I want to get at Rose City Comic Con. I'm going to be on the hunt for House of Secrets 92. I'm going to be on the hunt for a botlith. I really want a big ass botlith.
What the hell's a botlith?
It is the Klingon sword. It's the big curvy thing. Botlith in Klingon is a literal translation. You asked, so I'm not going to apologize. Botlith is a Klingon word that literally translates to Sword of Kal-Es, who is like the original OG, like badass Klingon. So anyways, it's a big Klingon sword that's really fucking cool. So
I knew it had to be either Star Trek or Dune related, so I was half right on one of those.
Yeah. I will also be looking out for whatever Dune shit I can find. I also really I wish that I knew that I was going to Rose City. I bought my passes a minute back, but I really wish that I had the brain to want to be motivated to do cosplay stuff, because I really would love to cosplay as Magneto. So I'm also thinking that I want to be on like the lookout for a Magneto helmet. So
that would be that would be exciting. That would be exciting. I have a convention I'm going to next Sunday as well. It's not nearly as big as yours. We have it's called First Date Comic Con. It's usually like a small little flea market. But they were the last convention I went to before the pandemic. If anybody, has seen my channel, where, I blew $100 in the first 15 minutes. So we'll see if that happens again. And then of course I have my big convention at Baltimore Comic-Con at the end of October. So I'm very jealous about you going to Rose City and wish I could be there with you, but I hope that you find all the things and meet all the people and stay hydrated.
I am. I'm really excited because there's a lot of people, probably some of them in the chat, that I have only been able to meet digitally. So I'm really excited to possibly meet people and at a reasonable distance, possibly give out some hugs to people at Rose City Comic Con.
And so some elbow bumps.
And some elbow bumps. So find me at Rose City Comic Con. I will try not to make any beef with any creators, and I'm going to fight anyone if there is a House of Secrets 92. So
no promises though.
No promises. Well, thank you everyone for being here. I really appreciate everyone being here. Like I said, the channel just reached 1,000 subscribers, which is a huge milestone. Part of being monetized by YouTube is having 1,000 subscribers. So that's fantastic. And getting 4,000 watch hours in a year. So haven't quite met the second one, but as soon as that happens, then monetization can happen. So that's really the goal. So maybe some of this stuff starts paying for itself, but it's not much, but it's on work. So thank you everyone for being here. Mars, thank you for being literally the best co-host. I love you all, and I have a wonderful Sunday. Bye.
Bye.